This is Nick Fuentes on Alex Jones debating whether Hitler was based. Seriously. That's the debate title, I believe. Was Hitler based? Let's give this a listen, see what they had to say. Psychotic.
Ye has started this conversation with the DEFCON 3 tweet about the Jews. He went on your show and he said that he loves Hitler. And what's, I think, the most remarkable about this is everybody is fixated on the remark. What did you mean by DEFCON 3? What did you mean by you love Hitler? What do you love about Hitler? What does DEFCON mean? Is that a threat? And so on. And he's done several interviews. He did an interview with Piers Morgan, with Lex Friedman, with Tim Pool, with you, with Gavin. And in all the interviews, it's so focused on the it's focused on the Jewish. And for
no shit. Does that really surprise you? Kanye West literally saying he's going DEFCON 3 on Jews tomorrow on a Twitter account that has more followers than there are Jews in the world. And you're like, everyone's focused on Jews. Everyone's focused on the Jews. Yeah, why the do you think that is? Because he's talking about hating Jews.
A lot of people, they might say, oh, well, of course, that's an outrageous thing to say. It's so provocative. And maybe that was the intention. Maybe it was about publicity. Maybe it was staged. But if you listen, if it
was staged, he literally sent out a psychotic tweet. What do you mean if it was staged?
You know what the man is saying? He has said, what got us to this point? I think that it's almost, it says something in itself that the conversation is about the remark rather than all the, in my opinion, far more outrageous things going on all around, which is that right now the ADL is shaking down Congress for $500 million. I don't know if people realize that. Submitted an appropriations request in response to the interview we did.
I'm not sure what he's talking about. I don't know if that's even real. But even if it is real, Nick Fuentes is desperate to conflate the state of Israel with this secret cabal that controls things like puppet masters. You know, recently there's some news outlet / Twitter account that's pretty big who did an Anti-Semite of the Year thing, and they named Miss Rachel as one of the kids, as one of the Anti-Semites of the year. Miss Rachel. You know Miss Rachel? She's just that little kids entertainer. They called her an Anti-Semite of the Year because she had some kids from Gaza on just to talk, just as part of her show or whatever. And said she cares about all children and she doesn't care where they're from or whatever. That's anti-Semitism in these people's minds. But Nick Fuentes was not on the list of anti-Semite of the year. People like that who name Miss Rachel want to conflate genuine anti-Semitism with criticism of the state of Israel. They want to make the two things the same effectively. They want you to view it as the same when it's not. You can criticize Israel and not be an anti-Semite. So we have people on the right in the Jewish community who are trying to do that, who are trying to conflate the things. And then we have people on the right in the anti-Semitic community doing the same. Nick Fuentes wants to convince you that Israel having a bad government, as they do, and committing war crimes is evidence of some secret cabal that's pulling strings like puppet masters that's existed since at least the early 1900s, who is out to control the world and all this other shit. If you notice, the common denominator between these two groups, these two beliefs, these two people is removing nuance from the conversation. They all want to strip nuance and make everything black and white. Any criticism of Israel or Jews of any sort whatsoever is considered evil on the right, on the Zionist side. And on the Fuentes side, on the Nazi side, they're all evil because they're all connected to each other. And there is no nuance to be found there. In this video, this debate that we're watching, you will see Fuentes try to convince you that Jews are controlling the world and the state of Israel's influence is evidence of it. Israel does try to control things like any other nation state. They absolutely do. Just like Iran does, just like China does, just like Russia does. But that's not evidence of some secretive cabal that's pulling strings like puppet masters.
The American Journal with Harrison Smith. The Alex Jones Show. This is The War Room with Owen Schroyer. InfoWars, the most banned network in the world.
God, they are such victims. They're constant victims, dude. They cannot deal with the possibility that maybe they're just fucking scumbags and nobody wants them around and no one wants to be associated with them. All right, I'm jumping forward. I don't know what the hell this stupid intro is.
So I thought I'd play a few of the clips I saw on the internet of kind of the other side. Burn it all down, bring down the system. But, you know, Klaus Schwab says he wants an angrier world. They want to bring down the system and bring in a new system.
There you go. There we have it. Again, Alex Jones conflating a Jewish person with all Jews. Oh my God, Miki, quit it. Get down. Get. Hang on. Jesus Christ, she's getting into all kinds of shit right now. Anyway, Klaus Schwab is a Jewish person, and a Jewish person is orchestrating the beginning of the end for the current world order or whatever other nonsense. Alex Jones is doing it right now, conflating a Jewish guy with some secretive cabal.
I want to bring down the system and bring in a new system. So I've never really been accused by anybody credible of being loyal opposition or getting a call from the ADL and told what to say. And I'm sure when Nick, and others have said that, that's tongue in cheek. No, I legitimately don't like Genghis Khan. I don't like Adolf Hitler. I don't like Mao Zedong. I don't like Joseph Stalin or V.I. Lenin. I don't like the ADL and their incredible authoritarian.
Did he say V.I. Lenin? Who the fuck is V.I. Lenin? You mean Vladimir Lenin? Does he have a middle initial I didn't know about?
I don't like Adolf Hitler. I don't like Mao Zedong. I don't like Joseph Stalin or V.I. Lenin. I don't like the ADL and their incredible authoritarianism, and I've been pushing really hard to stop them destroying our First Amendment. But, you can dislike Hitler and also dislike the ADL in my worldview, and
Oh, absolutely. So he's pretending to have nuance here. He's pretending that there is nuance. But then he just now, like literally just now, talked about how Jews are controlling the world, and there's a Jewish guy trying to usher in the New World Order. We're going to see him pretend to have nuance and then go full black and white, because that's what Alex Jones does best. By the way, there's a video I want to play first, actually, before I actually play the debate. Alex Jones has been talking about Israel for a long time. You guys may not know this. I certainly didn't until recently, but Osama bin Laden blew up the Twin Towers because of America's support of Israel. Did you guys know that shit? Because the U.S. supported Israel over Palestine, at least in part, not fully for that reason. But that's wild, right? Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov Lenin. Okay. Interesting. I had never heard that before. Why doesn't he just say Vladimir Lenin instead of V.I. Lenin? Anyway, after 9/11, Alex Jones was one of the early people to blame the United States for getting themselves involved in shit that they shouldn't have been involved in and pissing off the wrong people.
Working with Israel to oppress the people of the planet. Israel loves it. That Nazi Sharon has invaded the West Bank. They're slaughtering innocent people. And I'm sick of worshiping Israel. Did you know back in the 1960s they bombed the USS Liberty knowing it was one of our ships?
I'm not convinced of that. The USS Liberty was blown up by Israel. But if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that Israel actually knew that we even had a ship out there. I think we sent that ship out there secretly, intentionally to spy or whatever. And, they shouldn't have blown it up, of course, but how were they to know it wasn't an enemy ship, actually? They were at war with Egypt, I believe. So I don't think I really blame Israel for that at the time. But Israel is definitely full of far-right extremists, and we absolutely need to, pull the blinders from our eyes and see that.
Because it caught the radio chatter of them killing thousands of Palestinian children during that invasion, and they torpedoed
No.
it as they begged for hours on the radio, and LBJ sat there in 63 and let them do it. That's in this Baltimore Sun story.
Well, that's not exactly true. This is a conspiracy theory that a lot of neo-Nazis use to justify hating Jews generally, that they blew up the USS Liberty. I'm not convinced of it. Again, like, I wouldn't put it past the state of Israel. I think the state of Israel has gone completely off their rockers. They are out of their gourds. But that's not the same as, like, Jews overall.
I don't support the Palestinians either. They're all hyped up and psychotic. But Israel's going to get us nuked, always backing them up like this. Israel calls the Palestinians goyim or cattle or dogs or subhuman. They keep them on concentration camps. I got video of them taking Palestinian women's tomatoes they grow and breaking their water containers and stealing. That's why you have this crap. And our children are going to die. We're going to get nuked because of this. Iran's got the nukes now. Syria.
Again, this is immediately after 9/11. And it was probably a sound concern to worry that we were going to get nuked by somebody after 9/11, just because tensions were so high immediately after. But anyway, yeah.
We're going to have nuclear war because Israel likes to go around bombing everybody. I'm sorry. It's just the facts. And Israel absolutely is beside itself with joy right now. They are talking about how they're going to blow everything up, how they're going to attack everybody, and guess who's going to get bombed because of it? I have been supportive of Israel for many years. When I find out what they do, shooting little Palestinian children in the genitalia and laughing, it's on video.
They're still doing that, like right now. They do that. What the fuck is Get? God, the cat, dude. Getting into shit and knocking shit over and everything.
Little 10-year-olds walk around throwing rocks at tanks. A guy sits off a half mile away and blows their testicles off. They call them goyim. They call them dogs. They call the Arabs cattle. And then the corrupt Arab governments that are in league with this government. It's really a sick Hegelian dialectic, order out of chaos, bringing the world crises, bringing them terrorism, so we'll accept a highly dictatorial police state regime. It's happening. The world.
Yeah, anyway, Alex Jones was at least partially correct in some of that, but again, he's trying to strip all nuance out of the conversation as much as he possibly can. He just ate. He's totally set. He's got water. He's happy. He's just like, he wants to be an obnoxious fucking moron is all. He's swatting at things and everything.
No, it's the naughty thing to come up here and say you love Hitler, but I don't agree with that. I agree with people's First Amendment. I agree they shouldn't be penalized for it, and that's why I created a platform for that. One of the biggest things probably ever, definitely the most views we've ever had for one event. I mean, Endgame got watched 100 million times, like 80-something million.
Oh, look at you. So super special.
Times on Google Video before they took it down, but that took a couple of years to do before they took it down. But this is definitely one of the biggest things we've ever done. But it just kind of, to me, was very interesting. It was thought-provoking. And, of course, we see people like Scott Adams saying,
dude, Scott Adams is such a piece of shit. He's the Dilbert guy.
I see what Ye did. He's trying to overturn the whole chessboard.
No, he's trying to be a fucking scumbag and talk shit about Jews. That's what he's doing. He's not trying. There's no strategy, no deeper thought here. He's a piece of shit who is trying to attack Jews. That's it.
So is that really what went on? So before we have a debate or an argument, I'd like to give Nick some time to give his views. We really haven't talked much, other than briefly Sunday, about him coming on today, about what he thinks really went on there. Because some people thought I staged that and I was in on it or something. No, I didn't know what was going on. It's kind of like Trump didn't know what was going on to a greater extent. I knew who I was meeting with.
Wait, Trump didn't know what was going on? What are you talking about?
And then I had seen clips of Nick saying he didn't support Hitler and actually wasn't anti-Semitic. He just didn't like what some of the Jewish mafia is doing, claiming everybody's a Nazi, doesn't agree with him. So I just kind of saw this really as an...
See, this is what I'm talking about. He's trying to conflate genuine, actual, real anti-Semitism with criticism of Israel. He's genuinely, really, actually an anti-Semite that wants Jews dead. You know, racial ideology and all that. And he says, well, it's just, look, I just don't like what they're doing in Palestine when criticized. It's a rhetorical technique to deflect blame.
Enigma of what's really going on. So uncensored, unfiltered, Nick Fuentes joins us for the next hour and 42 minutes or so. Nick, thanks for joining us. What do you want to talk about first, or will you humor me and tell me what the hell you think happened a week and a half ago here in the studio?
Yes. Well, hello, Alex. Great to be with you.
A week and a half ago. This was like a couple years ago. It was when Kanye West went on Alex Jones's show and said he loves Hitler.
I'll humor you, and we could talk a little bit about how the show went down. For anybody that thinks it was staged, of course it wasn't. And people...
Did somebody say that?
They have all these ideas about where this is coming from, where Ye is coming from with these new ideas and with these kinds of things. And people have talked about mental illness, and they've said that people like me are giving him ideas or handling him. People have speculated that the walkout on Tim Pool or the show... that
I don't think Fuentes is handling Ye or Kanye or giving him ideas. I think Kanye was going down that rabbit hole anyway, and he found Nick Fuentes, and that's where he ended up. Also, in my opinion, I believe that he wants people to call him Ye instead of Kanye as a means to protect his Kanye brand. And I'm not going to give a Nazi the opportunity to protect his brand from his bad decisions.
that we did with you was staged, and I can assure you, I've been working with Ye for the last 3 weeks. Nothing is staged. And nobody can handle him. Nobody can influence him. He's his own man. And as far as the mental illness remarks goes, I've met manic people before. I've known bipolar people. He's not a bipolar or an unstable person.
Really? You cannot say that and expect us to believe it. Kanye West is not bipolar or unstable. Please.
In fact, he's highly energetic, vigorous, works all day, creative. I really can't say enough positive things about him. But with regards to the appearance on your show, what I've noticed is that Ye has started this conversation with the DEFCON 3 tweet about the Jews. He went on your show and he said that he loves Hitler. And what's, I think, the most remarkable about this is everybody is fixated on the remark. What did you mean by DEFCON 3? What did you mean by you love Hitler?
Okay, no, nobody is asking that. We all know exactly what he fucking meant. When he said, I love Hitler, he meant, I love Hitler. Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case something happens with the government or whatever. It would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too.
What do you love about Hitler? What does DEFCON mean? Is that a threat? And so on. And he's done several interviews. He did an interview with Piers Morgan, with Lex Friedman, with Tim Pool, with you, with Gavin. And in all the interviews, it's so focused on the Hitler. It's focused on the Jewish.
Why the fuck do you think that is?
And for a lot of people, they might say, oh, well, of course, that's an outrageous thing to say. It's so provocative. And maybe that was the intention. Maybe it was about publicity. Maybe it was staged. But if you listen,
he's giving him an out. He's just a Nazi.
If you listen to what the man is saying, he has said, what got us to this point? I think that it's almost, it says something in itself that the conversation is about the remark rather than all the, in my opinion, far more outrageous things going on all around.
Brother, he literally said, I love Hitler.
Which is that right now the ADL is shaking down Congress for $500 million. I don't know if people realize that. Submitted an appropriations request in response to the interview we did.
This is the opener. This is what we saw in the opener. Again, Fuentes is trying desperately to conflate actual real anti-Semitism with just being Jewish. And now all Jews are the same. They're all evil and shifty and out to blah, blah, blah.
Now you've got, whether you thought it was entertaining, whether you thought it was revolutionary, you have Ye with a mask on, with a yoo-hoo and a net saying, I love Hitler. And the ADL shaking the cup with Congress. We need $500 million to fight anti-Semitism. It's outrageous.
One of the biggest artists of all time just came out on a big platform and said, I love Hitler and I hate Jews. They're not, quote unquote, shaking the cup. They are drawing attention to legitimate anti-Semitism. Are you shitting me? For the record, the current administration of the ADL caused this problem to exist, though, by supporting Zionist causes. Zionism increases the amount of right-wing hate in the world.
He's been banned from the bank. He's had his deals shut down by Nike and Adidas to the tune of billions of dollars over 10 years. And the list goes on and on and on.
There. I hear what you're saying, but then that's what people ask, and I don't think this is the case. That is Ye secretly like an ADL operative to get them funding. So we're going to talk about that when we come back.
What? I'm sorry, I haven't heard that one.
I guess what I want to say here is Alex Jones, and you know, this being my broadcast, is I really didn't know that Ye was going to come here and do that. I didn't know that Nick Fuentes was going to agree with him.
I'm sure. I mean, Kanye, not Hitler. I almost called him Hitler. Kanye had already espoused some pretty insane, fucked up views at that point, and that is why Alex Jones brought him on in the first place. So I'm sure he knew something like that would happen.
I understand their First Amendment. I understand when the ADL on the left says it's inherently racist and evil to be white or to be Christian. That
Wait, who the fuck says this? What are you talking about? Somebody says it's inherently evil to be white? One more time?
says it's inherently.
Wait, who said it?
I didn't know that Nick Fuentes was going to agree with him. I understand their First Amendment. I understand when the ADL on the left says it's inherently racist and evil to be white.
No, nobody says it's inherently racist or evil to be white. You're completely full of shit here.
To be Christian, that they've crossed that Rubicon and basically become what they say Hitler was. So at that point, Ye isn't taking people's bank accounts away and spying on folks on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.
No, but he's literally calling for the deaths of an entire group of people based on some intrinsic quality about them. You know, Kanye West, again, I'm not calling him Ye because he's trying to escape accountability and protect his brand, and I'm not going to allow the little scumbag to do that. Kanye West, back in 2006, said, George Bush doesn't care about black people. You guys remember that? That famous line, George Bush doesn't care about black people. And it was hard-hitting and unexpected. You can't tell me George Bush doesn't care about black people until you care about other minority groups. You have no place to talk when you literally are cheering the mass extermination of a minority group.
And wanting $500 million from Congress for this hate task force to basically silence anybody that criticizes.
Give it a fucking rest. The ADL is terrible. They're scumbags. They support the Zionist cause. And as such, they do increase the amount of right-wing hate in the world. Like I said, that's true. But to frame it as though they're just shifty Jews out to get $1 is fucking disgusting. Really. Oh my God, this food's a mess.
Any of the leftist operations. So I don't like any of that. I'm a big enemy of it. The ADL singles me out at their big events and wants me destroyed.
Again, the ADL is bad, but you're a fucking scumbag. You're a disgusting scumbag that increases right-wing hate.
My only frustration is I legitimately, Nick, have studied World War II and also had family that was in World War II and know that a bunch of the top Nazis tried to kill Hitler, like Erwin Rommel and people, and that Stalin admired Hitler and all the rest of this. And I don't like Stalin either. Just because what was done to Germans was wrong in World War I, and
wait, the Germans were the good guys in World War I? What? Or they were mistreated in World War I? I don't understand. You know, a lot of people don't realize what World War I was over. I had no idea. World War II was basically a continuation of World War I. World War I was started by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and he was killed by a couple of Serbs because he was mistreating Serbs terribly. They were a minority group in the area who he was oppressing, basically. And they were sick of it, and they sent a couple of people over there to take the shot. They had arsenic pills, I believe. Arsenic. Not cyanide, but arsenic. That they were supposed to take immediately after killing him so they wouldn't be captured. And they took it, and it wasn't enough arsenic to kill them. So they jumped in a lake nearby to try to drown, and it was only 4 inches deep. They couldn't. And one of them ended up, I believe, he died in prison of typhus or of tuberculosis, maybe? Something like that. And the other one died like 3 years later in prison. Kind of crazy how everything plays out. Anyway, the reason that World War I existed in the first place was purely expansionism. It was like, you remember what we saw when Charlie Kirk died and the amount of insane, extreme, nationalistic fervor. I believed we were going to see pogroms. I was convinced of it because of how intense and insane everything was. Well, it was like that. Franz Ferdinand dies. leading up to World War I, and everybody goes nuts. It was a tinderbox, and everyone was waiting for someone to light the match, and those two dudes that assassinated Franz Ferdinand did it. They lit the match. Anyway, Austria and Germany used the opportunity with the lit tinderbox to invade areas, to try to take areas over. There's a little country between France and Germany called Luxembourg, and another one called Belgium, I believe. And Germany invades both of those, and it was pretty clear what was happening next. Everybody knew that they were going to march straight through Luxembourg into France, and they did. It was an expansionist thing. They were looking for an opportunity to take over these areas, and the tinderbox was lit, so let's do it. After World War I, Germans were very unhappy about the fact that they had to sign this treaty that said that they wouldn't keep too many troops on staff and that they would keep their ammunition down and things because they were so aggressive in World War I. And they used that unhappiness to justify the Nazi rise. And Hitler believed in taking over Europe from World War I because he was in World War I, of course. He was a corporal, a message carrier guy. So he takes control and uses the opportunity to start World War II, to take over Europe, try a second time when the first one failed. Now, with that context in mind, one more time, Alex.
Like Erwin Rommel and people, and that Stalin admired Hitler and all the rest of this. I don't like Stalin either. And so just because what was done to Germans was wrong in World War I.
What was done to Germans was wrong in World War I? Are we talking about the same Germany or whatever? Are we talking about the same Germany? Are we talking about the Germany that invaded Luxembourg, Belgium, and then France and got within 40 miles of Paris? We're talking about the same one? Because I'm trying here. I'm trying to see the wrong part. How was Germany mistreated in World War I? They were literally the ones invading other countries.
And there were also war crimes against Germans. In my view, let's just get the Hitler thing out of the way. Do you actually admire Adolf Hitler?
I bet he's going to hedge. He's going to dance around it and say no.
In some ways, yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not a National Socialist, and I'm not I wouldn't identify that way because I'm a Christian. So I'm not any kind of a socialist or a fascist. I believe we should have a Christian government. It's a Christian country. God runs the world. We should have a government in accordance with that. But
so he's pretending to be a Christian nationalist here. He's not. Well, he may be a Christian nationalist, but first and foremost, he's most definitely a Nazi. I don't know what he pretends to be. He's a Nazi. But Hitler was not a socialist. The Nazis were not socialists. They used the word socialist to mean something different than what it means today. What they meant back then, when they said socialist, was in favor of social programs like universal health care, social security, those types of programs. What we mean today, according to the literature, when we say socialist, is the workers control the means of production and supply. That is in no way, shape, or form what Hitler ever wanted, ever claimed to want, or even instituted when he got into power. It's not even close. In no way was Hitler a socialist in our understanding of it today. Anyway, when he got into power, it was pure unadulterated corruption. He gave positions of power to his friends. He strong-armed the IRS into ignoring his tax debts, threatened them, and everything else. It was capitalism with massive corruption, is what it was.
Honestly, I don't share this histrionic Jewish view that Hitler is this exceptionally boogeyman, evil figure. The 20th century is full of violence. The 20th century is full of authoritarian ideologies run rampant, and that's a product of modernism and liberalism and all kinds of trends. But this idea that my life is in any way impacted by Hitler. I have a lot more animosity for the ADL. I have a lot more animosity for the ZOA. I have a lot more animosity for the groups that have actually made my life and the life of my family materially worse personally. And
I mean, not for nothing, but the ADL or whoever, the ACLU, I don't know, whoever, whatever groups he's complaining about, they made your life materially worse by criticizing you because you made their lives materially worse and many others. He's pretending to be some kind of a fucking victim. Like, give it a rest.
And across the board with the society, I'm sick of being expected by Jewish media and Holocaust museums to beat my chest like you kind of did the other week and say, oh, I hate Hitler. Hitler's a... You know, it's like this weird, it's like 1984, you know, when they put the face on the TV and everybody's got to get all wound up. He's
You're talking about 10 minutes.
Figure.
You're talking about 10 minutes of hate. Well,
okay, but Hitler is actually a bad person. Like, are we on the same page there? Of course we're not. He can't come out and say that because he doesn't agree with it.
I legitimately hate Stalin, hate Mao, hate Hitler, hate the ADL, hate Barack Obama, hate the Democratic Party. And I've always, remember me on Piers Morgan? I didn't get a call from the ADL when I was on Piers Morgan, the most popular thing he ever did, the biggest thing CNN did that year. They had the ratings. They had like 50 million viewers for that. Their average show had like 10 million back then. And I said, Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns.
That's not true, though. That's a lie. Like, the problem with that statement is that you're lying.
Mao took the guns. And if you try to take our guns, 1776 will commence again. I
mean, that's an open threat, first of all. And second, gun legislation existed in the Weimar Republic long before Hitler came around. It wasn't really a point of contention like that.
Always criticized Hitler. I've made documentaries about the Bush family helping fund Hitler and the British royalty. So where we have a sticking point is that Alex got the call as you sent out on social media. And I'm just curious, do you...
Oh, I forgot about that. Nick Fuentes claimed Alex got the call from Zionists or from the Jewish New World Order or whatever. Alex Jones got the call to fall in line and obey or whatever the fuck. It's such a joke, dude, really.
Think I actually got a call to come out and criticize Hitler? You think that's a new thing for me?
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
No, I know that you're very vocally anti-Hitler over the years. I know that you're more of a libertarian, and so you have this view of history which lumps in together Mao, Stalin, Hitler as authoritarians versus freedom fighters, capitalists, you know, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. So I'm familiar.
You know, authoritarianism and fascism are different from each other. They're not the same. And fascism is very new. It's a new ideology. It's only 150 years old, believe it or not. In fact, Mussolini was the first fascist. And here's the difference between authoritarian and fascist. A cult of personality forms around fascists and must exist for fascism to exist. Because fascism is not just... I control the state. It is, I control the state and your hearts and literally everything else. I have to be able to control everything. For fascism to exist, a cult of personality must also, by necessity, by definition, exist. And if a cult of personality doesn't exist, it's really hard to get people on board with all of the shit that you intend to do, basically. You know, there's a cult of personality that exists around Donald Trump right now. Well, the exact same cult of personality existed around Hitler. And if you want to learn more about it, there's a book by Ian Kershaw, I believe, called The Hitler Myth that talks about the cult of personality that existed around Hitler. Until, 150 years ago, we didn't have the ability to create cults of personality in that way in the first place because we didn't have mass media sufficient to create a cult in that way. Like, radio was just invented not that long ago. We had the printing press this whole time, but that was hard. You know, it took a lot of work, a lot of time and effort and stuff. It took a lot of things to actually make that happen. So not just any old person could do it. The point is that fascism is different from authoritarianism. And I will get into that more as we go if I need to. We'll see.
With your show and all of that. And honestly, it was a little bit glib. You called me baby Hitler. I said, you got a call. You know, quite honestly, it's banter, but it is well known that you don't really talk about this issue. You're more talking about New World Order, Bill Gates, and these sort of obscure conspiracy theories like Bilderberg. My show's a lot more focused on, you know, what you might call the Jewish question, which is what are we to do about this Jewish elite, these Jewish gangsters that run our Christian country? These
I think that's a debate that should be had, because there's no doubt that leftism and the whole globalist power grab has wrapped itself in Judaism as its defense.
This is fucking disgusting, dude. Seriously. The left has wrapped itself in Judaism as its defense. What is wrong with these people, dude?
And I would call the FTX folks and the federal regulators who all, involved in this basically are Jewish, who are out there doing that, are criminals who happen to be Jewish who are hiding behind Judaism. But I don't then blame the average Jew for that. So I think that's the difference. Kind of like when Ye and you were on with Gavin McInnes, and he's like, well, you know, blacks commit as proportionate more crime than the other group, but you don't just blame the average black person. Do you just not trust a Jew when they come in the room? And Ye goes, yeah, I don't, you know. To me, that's what I'm saying is I do believe in Martin Luther King, that we judge individuals by who they are and what they do, not by what color they are or where they're from. But go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that in principle, but we also have to understand that it's not that these people happen to be Jewish. I think that's the big source of the disagreement, is these are what we're told in the last few weeks when Ye makes these remarks about the Jewish media or Jewish Hollywood or so on, is, well, these are individuals. These are people that we've got to name them individually, and these are people that happen to be bad, or rather they are bad and happen to be Jewish. But I think there's something about their Jewishness that makes it this way. And I think that is really the source of the disagreement. My morality is not bound up in this authoritarian versus freedom thing. It's about God versus the devil. And the curious fact about the Jewish religion, which all the Jewish people that came to America in the last century as immigrants were religious. When the people came, rather they are bad and happen to be Jewish, but I think there's something about their Jewishness that makes it this way. And I think that is really the source of the disagreement. My morality is not bound up in this authoritarian versus freedom thing. It's about God versus the devil. And the curious fact about the Jewish religion, which all the Jewish people that came to America in the last century as immigrants were religious. When the people came over at Ellis Island in the late 19th and early 20th century, they came from these rabbinical communities. They were all very religious. And so you've got all the Jews in America, elite, not elite. They're 1, 2, or 3 generations removed from these very religious, rabbinical Jewish communities. What's curious about the Jewish religion is it's the only one that has an extreme antipathy for Jesus Christ. Muslims.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it's the only group that has an antipathy for Jesus.
Revere Jesus as a prophet. Buddhists, Hindus, they review Jesus as a wise teacher. We all agree that Jesus existed.
Well, you know, not everybody. I do think that Jesus existed, but
only the Jews that say that Jesus is burning in hell, boiling in semen and excrement, and say that his mother is a whore. And so you take these people that come from Europe.
Okay, I don't think all Jews say that. In fact, I don't think I've heard that before. That's not very common.
And again, it's their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren who are now in charge of the elite institutions.
Well, sure. I mean, Nick, I'll say this. Ethan Klein came out on his huge podcast and said, I would murder Jesus again. Jews should, basically kill Christians.
Okay, Ethan Klein is a scumbag who is intentionally inflammatory. You cannot take Ethan Klein as the example or as the quintessential Jewish person or whatever like that. That's insane. Ethan Klein is a disgusting scumbag. A vile, evil human being. Seriously. Like, dude is broken inside with some of the shit that he says and does.
And you didn't say kill Jews. So he went further than you and Ye, and no one decried it. And that is wrong. He said, I'm Jewish. I want to.
No one decried it? Ethan Klein is a fucking nutcase. Nobody likes Ethan Klein. I mean, he's still got a gigantic platform. So obviously some people like him. But yeah.
Kill Jesus again. We should kill Jesus. We should basically kill Christians. And when he said it was like cute and funny and the media loved it. You didn't call for violence against anybody. So on a scale of me disagreeing with you, you're a 1 and Klein and the ADL are a 10. Look, I'm not friends with the ADL. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying
I mean, Ethan Klein says these things to be inflammatory, to be an inflammatory shithead. He doesn't actually mean that he would kill Jesus. He wouldn't kill Jesus, obviously. Nobody would do that. He was playing into the stereotype that Christian nationalists kind of saddle him with. I don't know why he thought that was a good idea, but either way, he's a scumbag.
That any authoritarian movement, I think, is extremely dangerous. And we're not faced with Hitler today. We're faced with the ADL and other authoritarian movements. So I think coming out and invoking Hitler almost gives those groups cover. And now, as you said, they're trying to get $500 million from Congress.
Yeah, I understand where you're.
They're trying to get money to fight anti-Semitism. The ADL is not the right organization for that, but we should definitely be fighting anti-Semitism.
Coming from, I think maybe that's more of a tactical disagreement. And I told you over the weekend, maybe this is my youth. You know, I'm willing to humble myself and say I'm young and zealous and idealistic, as everybody can relate to that. But I do think I might be onto something here, which is that we've watched for 20, 30 years and things just keep getting worse. And we saw what happened in 2020. The election was stolen.
Things keep getting worse in what way exactly? The election was stolen, he says, in 2020.
The whole first term was rigged, and Trump comes back even weaker than before. And I'm like, when are we going to confront head on the fundamental problems? When are we going to head on?
All right, stay there. We'll talk about what you think the fundamental problems are when we come back, and then I'll give you my response to that and more. Nick Fuentes is our guest. We're having a debate. We're having a discussion here, which the system doesn't want, but we're having.
Oh my God. Nobody gives a fuck if you have a debate about this, Alex, okay? You're just, I mean, I want you to really think about what you're doing here, Alex. You're debating whether Hitler was a good guy. Okay, how far have you fallen? It's not the system that's trying to prevent this or whatever the fuck. You're just enabling the most evil people on planet Earth. That's all. And again, like, Fuentes is not defending Palestinians or whatever. He is saying, I hate Jews and I love Hitler. No excuse for this. Anyway, I guess that's a break. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Absolutely psychotic and disgusting and wrong.